So, hey, and welcome back to another episode. And if you haven't listened to this podcast before, I'm actually kind of doing something new while I'm doing this. So go over and check out my website, timstatingtheobvious.com, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I just wanted to update you all on what's been going on lately because I've made some personal goals of mine to get out there and do some personal speaking engagements this year. And so far, I did one. I have several more lined up for the rest of the year. And at first I was a little apprehensive about it. I was really nervous to get out and go do that. I mean, I do it for my day job and I get up and I go speak out in front of people all the time, but this was a little different. This was the first time I was speaking to people that were not like me, that were not from my career background, that were completely different. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to be received, how I was going to present myself, what was going on. And it was different. And because it was out of my comfort zone, and I was challenging myself, I wanted to make sure that this year I'm challenging myself on several different levels. So we've had several different guests come on the show this year. And now I'm out doing public speaking events. And really that's me pushing and challenging myself because naturally I'm kind of introverted if you haven't noticed yet. On the show, I'm locked in a room with myself and a microphone, which you can't see. And I put on what you want to hear or what I think you like to hear, and you give me feedback and we adjust from that. And in real life, when I got up and did the speaking engagement, I had 100 sets of eyeballs looking at me and they were glaring me down. And at first it was unnerving and a little bit intimidating I'm not going to lie. It was a little intimidating. Everyone just kind of stared at me. Not everybody was happy. Not everybody was smiling. And the more I got into it, I did a couple of seconds where I was getting into it, and then I got into a rhythm. I got feedback from everybody. I got real life feedback, and then everybody relaxed. They had a great time, and I had a great time. And so my goal going into this was if I could reach one person and let one person know that somebody sees you, somebody understands you, and somebody appreciates you. And that was my goal going into that. And I think I got that across. And, word of mouth went around, and I'm doing more public speaking engagements, which I'm very grateful for. First to God, because through him, all things flow. And without him, none of this would be possible. And second is for, the people that have reached out to me so far and have asked me to speak. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do that. So thank you. And I wanted to share this because if you're listening to this show on whatever platform, if you wanted to have a discovery call and you're like, hey, you know what? I want you to come out and talk about something. I heard a topic. I heard a show that you did, and I really want you to dive into it with my organization. Then let me know. Go to timstatingtheobvious.com. And from there, we can have a discovery call and we can find out the way forward on that. So if it's something that you're interested in, go to timstatingtheobvious.com and we'll check it out. Or you can click the link down below. This is Tim Staten with Tim Stating the Obvious. What is this podcast about? It's simple. You are entitled to great leadership everywhere you go, whether it's to church, whether it's to work, whether it's at your house, you are entitled to great leadership. And so in this podcast, we take leadership principles and theories and turn them into everyday, relatable, and usable advice.
And a quick disclaimer, this show, process, or service by trademark manufacturer, otherwise does not necessarily constitute an implied endorsement of anyone that I am employed by or favors them in representation. The views are expressed here in my show are my own expressed and do not necessarily state or reflect those of any employer.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the benefit of getting out of your comfort zone. If you haven't figured that out yet. And I offer up that the majority of us never really get out of our comfort zone. We say we do, but do we really get out of our comfort zones? To prove this point, I came up with a story. It took me a couple of weeks. That's why this one's a little bit delayed. So pull up a chair and listen. And I have no idea actually what you're doing or if you can actually pull up a chair and listen, but leave a comment. Let me know how you're listening to this and what you were doing when you listened to the story. I'm just kind of interested on that one. So once upon a time in a bustling city in Corporateville, there lived a young leader named Normie. Came up with Normie. He's normal. And he is in his early 30s. And Normie was the epitome of comfort. He had a stable job at mediocre corporation, a company renowned for its adequate products and satisfactory service. Normie's motto was, why rock the boat when you can just float? Every morning, Normie would roll out of his bed at 7:45 in the morning, brew a cup of mediocre coffee, and saunter into work precisely at 9:01 every morning. His office was a heaven of comfort, a plush chair that felt like a hug from a marshmallow, and a desk stocked with snacks and a playlist of smooth jazz that never really got above background noise level. Normie's daily routine was so predictable as a metronome. He'd answer a few emails and attend a couple of meetings where he said just enough to appear engaged, and then spend the rest of the afternoon perfecting his solitaire game or his Tetris or some other app on his phone that he was just playing his game. His evenings were a mix of Netflix binges and microwave dinners. One day, Normie's tranquility was shattered by the arrival of a new intern named Zoe. Zoe was a whirlwind of energy and ambition, and she was always talking about growth, disruption, and her dreams of making it big. She wore bright colors, spoke in exclamation marks, like she was very out there, right? And was forever pitching new ideas. There wasn't something that she did not know. She was like, hey, you know what? I have this idea. Let's do this. Hey, I have this idea. Let's do that. Initially, Normie found her enthusiasm exhausting and kind of like a caffeinated squirrel in his Zen garden, right? It wasn't like all that awesome. However, it wasn't long before Normie noticed something unsettling. His peers, who once shared his love for the path of least resistance, were suddenly moved ahead of him. Sam from accounting had started a side hustle and now was speaking at conferences. Jenny from marketing was training for a marathon and had just gotten a promotion. And even Bob, who Normie thought would never leave the comfort of his break room, had signed up for a coding boot camp and was now a senior developer. Normie felt like he was stuck in a time warp where everyone else was speeding ahead while he remained comfortably stagnant. And the final straw came when he overheard Zoe chatting with the boss about her plans to revolutionize the department. The boss was not only listening, but seemed genuinely excited about it. Meanwhile, Normie had just pitched the idea of getting new coffee mugs for the office. Realizing he was at risk of becoming a human equivalent of a beige wall, Normie decided it was time to take a change. But where was he going to start? He hadn't taken a risk since he tried the new sushi place 3 years ago. After some thought, he decided, you know what? I'm going to ask Zoe for help. He went up to Zoe and he said, Zoe, I need your help. I need your help on how to grow, he said, and he confessed it. He goes, I'm allergic to discomfort. Do you have any tips? How do I get ahead? And Zoe grinned like she's just been handed the keys to a candy store. Normie, growth is all about stepping out of your comfort zone. Start small. Ever tried public speaking? Normie's stomach did a backflip. That idea was terrifying to him, but he agreed to give it a shot. That weekend, he signed himself up for an open mic night at a local comedy club, reasoning to himself, like, you know what, if I'm going to go out there and make a fool of myself, I might as well get a few laughs in while I'm doing it, and everyone's expecting to laugh anyway. That night arrived, and Normie felt like a fish out of water. He took the stage, the spotlight blinding him, and he managed to croak out a few jokes about the office. And to his surprise, people laughed. Not just polite chuckles, but genuine belly laughs. And that emboldened him, and he started sharing more stories and about his love affair with his office chair, the marshmallow hugging pillow, and his, solitaire addiction, and his discovery that his boss had secretly been growing bonsai trees in her office. And by the end of the set, Normie felt like a rock star. The discomfort had transformed into exhilaration. He realized that stepping out of his comfort zone wasn't just about facing fears. It was about discovering new facets of himself. From that point on, Normie decided he's going to make it a mission to embark on discomfort in both personal and professional life. He took on challenging projects at work. He started running, though initially he kind of struggled to run like we all do. At the end of the day, you run down the end of the block, you're like, oh man, it's like 100 degrees outside. I'm coming back. But eventually he got into it and even signed up for salsa dancing classes where he spent most of the time outside of the work, where his partners were dancing on his toes. Slowly but surely, Normie's career life began to flourish. He was promoted to the lead of a new innovative team at Mediocre Corporation, which was now rebranding as Above Average Incorporated. He found new joy in his hobbies and made new friends, and he felt more alive than ever. And so Normie's story became a legend in Corporateville, a humorous tale of a man who traded his marshmallow chair for a life of adventure and growth. And he proved that the best things in life happen when you just step out of your comfort zone and into the unknown. So getting out of your comfort zone is essential for personal growth and professional growth. And so we're going to come up with 5 strategies here to help push your boundaries and achieve growth. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify our stretch goals. And what that is we're going to identify goals that challenge our current abilities and our knowledge. And it forces us to adopt new skills and new strategies in a new situation. And how we go about doing this is by breaking these goals into smaller, more manageable tasks to prevent feeling overwhelmed. For example, if public speaking is a challenge, I would say start by speaking in small groups like I've done and gradually increase your audience. I wanted to develop this podcast, so I did. And then I'm like, I need to talk to people in person. So I started out smaller and then I'm building up and getting bigger and bigger. So manage your goals smaller. And when you break them down into smaller goals, they seem less daunting in the end. The second thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to embrace discomfort, right? We got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Why? Because discomfort is a sign of growth. When you face uncomfortable situations, you learn to adapt and overcome and be more resilient. You're forced into your growth zone. So we got these little bubbles, right? So you got your comfort zone and then you got your normal zone where, you can recognize certain things about other people and yourself. And then you're like, do I know what I really know? And then you get further out into your growth zone. And that's where you're truly uncomfortable because you have to discover it. It's new. It's something novel to you. Maybe not to other people, but to you, it's new. So you've got to rediscover it. And, it's scary at sometimes, but then once you do that, you grow from it. And so what you need to do is identify specific activities that make you uneasy, such as networking with people or taking on new responsibilities. Make a plan on how you're going to engage with these things daily and all the time. So at the beginning of the year, I said, I'm going to grow personally. So I'm going to interview people for the show. And I had to get out of my comfort zone and go do that. Then I said, you know what? I want to talk to people in person. So I had to get out of my comfort zone and go do that. And then I'm furthermore getting out of my comfort zone because now I have a camera in front of me and I'm trying to record this and do the camera at the same time. So really out of my comfort zone right now, but it's okay because it's all about growth. And that's what we're looking for. All right. So the third thing that we need to do is we need to seek feedback constantly. We need to ask for constructive feedback from peers, mentors, and supervisors. This is something that I do all the time. I always ask people, what am I not doing for you that I should be doing? And what do you need from me? Hey, how did this event go? And what could I do better? Hey, what did you think about this? And when you get honest feedback, that provides valuable insight into your strengths and the areas that you need to improve on. Right? We all got things that we got to improve on. We all need things that we need to grow from. The only way you're going to get that is by asking for it. And people will give it to you, but you got to have the thick skin in order to take it. Because if you do not have thick skin and you're just asking because you want to feel good about yourself, let me tell you, you're going to be setting yourself up. So don't do that. Right? And the fourth thing that we need to do is we need to learn continuously. This is something over the past several years that I have really adopted and taken to heart. If you're not learning and committed to lifelong learning through courses or reading or through other experiences, other people's experiences, talking and networking to other people and learning from them, you're never going to really grow. So you got to commit to lifelong learning. And it's hard. At first, I started reading. And then I started reading more. Now I'm reading anything and everything that I can think of. I'm listening to other people's podcasts. I'm reading scholarly articles, professional articles, talking to people all the time, asking them for their thoughts and their opinions, and trying to genuinely seek understanding and learn from them so that way I can learn. Because everybody brings a wealth of knowledge, and I think it's super important that we learn from each other. So how do we really do that? Well, you need to allocate specific times in your plan daily, in your daily schedule of when you are going to learn, when you are going to seek that learning throughout the day? Is it 5 o'clock in the morning? Is it 10 o'clock at night? You got to figure that out. Only you know when that's going to be and how that's going to be. So set that time up for you. Make sure that you have that time set up so that way you can figure it out. If you don't plan for it, it's never going to happen. Something else is going to take up that time. And the fifth thing and the last thing that we can do is network and collaborate. We need to build relationships with people outside of our usual circle. We need to have diverse perspectives and experiences that can spark new ideas and challenge your way of thinking. Part of my networking is finding people that don't agree with the things that I agree with, whether it be personally or politically or religiously. So that way I can get new ideas and challenge myself and challenge my thinking. Do I know what I really know, or do I think I know what I know? And that's hard. But I also read books by people that I don't agree with. I also read books that I make sure, when was the last time that I read something on a leadership topic written by a woman, right? Written by a female? When was the last time that I read something? First happened a couple of years ago. Like, man, you know what? I can't really think. Let me go find out. Let me go seek that out and let me go read it, because it's a different perspective and it brings a new idea, right? If you're not attending industry events like conferences and seminars, you're doing yourself a disservice. You got to get out there. You got to talk to other professionals. And even as uncomfortable as it may be, because I am a very introverted person. I love I love people, and I love talking to people, and I love helping people. I don't necessarily like a room of 400 to 500 people where you've got to introduce yourself and talk to them all the time. That drains me. However, it's important, so I do it. I seek those opportunities out, and so should you, because you learn new things, you make new friends, you get different perspectives, and it allows you to engage in higher conversations that you're probably not even getting at your professional work or even in your personal life. So just something to think about. The fifth one is highly important: network and collaborate with other people. So by consistently applying these strategies, you could push your limits and expand your horizons to achieve significant personal and professional growth. So I think it's highly important that we adopt all of these principles, do these things so that we can challenge ourselves personally and professionally to growth. So I'm going to ask you, as we close this out, right, as we wrap all this up, what is one of your things, what is one of your goals on how you're going to grow this year? What are you going to do that's going to help you push yourself out of your comfort zone and get better this year? There's a TikToker that I recently followed the other day, and it came up on my page, and I was talking about weight loss, and he was like, oh, this is super important, and I want to do this, and here's the reason why. And he was going through this whole thing, and it really inspired me. I was like, you know what? That's you getting out of your comfort zone. Not only are you trying to lose the weight and you're doing the things that you need to do, you're actually telling the whole world, like, hey, here's all my vulnerabilities and weak points. And oh, by the way, this is what I'm doing to get after it and help hold me accountable, right? That's getting out of your comfort zone. And if that doesn't inspire people to get out of their comfort zone, I don't know what will. But other than, let me know, what are you doing? What are you doing this year to help grow and get out of your comfort zone? I'm really interested to know. You can either comment down below or you can just respond back. So as always, thank you for stopping by and listening to this episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Before we go, I would like to ask a favor of you, if I could. If you could please share this episode with one or two people who you think would like this topic. If you haven't followed or subscribed on the platform you're listening to this on, please hit all the bells, the whistles, the icons, so that when we post another episode, you'll know. I don't want to waste your time. If you got some value out of this episode, please leave a review and comment so we can spread the show to people who might not have found the show yet, but still interested in the topics that we talk about. Again, thanks for stopping by. I'm Tim Staten.